أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيम بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum प्यारे बच्चों. Today's our class for 11th is animal tissue. As we all know, there are at least more than 200 animal tissues, and these 200 animal tissues have been categorized or folded into only 4 animal tissues. And what is a tissue? Let's first see what is tissue. A tissue is a group of cells performing a similar function. It's a group of cells that perform a similar function of the same kind of function. We call it animal tissue. We call it tissue, and the animal tissue, this animal tissue has been divided or classified into 4 tissues. That's epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. All these tissues are having some sort of origin where from they have developed. As the animals are formed, as gastrulation occurs, 3 primary dermal layers are formed, that's ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. These animal tissues, they all come from these all tissue, ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. Among them, the epithelial tissue, it is having the origin of ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. And then the connective tissue, that's a mesodermal origin. Muscular tissue, it's also a mesodermal origin, and nervous tissue, that's ectodermal in origin. What is epithelial tissue? It is having all the, it is formed from all the primary germ layers, that is ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. Now the epithelial tissue. What's epithelial tissue? What's epithelium? An epithelial tissue is a tissue that's composed of one or more than one layer of cells, composed of tightly packed one or more than one layer of cells which rest on the basement membrane, a membrane upon which they rest, underlying basement membrane. Basement membrane is created by the epithelial itself and the connective tissue below. It's separated by animal tissue, epithelial, and the connective tissue. So the basement membrane is formed, which separates it from the connective tissue. So this epithelial tissue, it is further divided into, or it's classified into simple epithelial tissue and compound epithelial tissue. Let's take first simple epithelial tissue. Simple epithelial tissue, which is only one layer thick. It's composed of only one layer of cells, composed of compact one layer of cells. One layer of cells. And this cell layer rests on the basement membrane. They have underlying basement membrane. Now the simple epithelial tissue is further divided into simple squamous, simple cuboidal, simple columnar, and simple columnar further divided into non-ciliated and ciliated. The simple epithelial tissue has another type that's called pseudostratified epithelium. Pseudostratified epithelium, simple epithelium. Now let's see first simple squamous epithelium. What is simple squamous epithelium? It consists of flattened cells. It consists of flattened cells. These are the flattened cells. They are not polygonal in structure. They are flattened wavy cells, a single layer of cells which rests on the basement membrane. The nucleus is centrally located and they are wavy. This is also called pavement membrane. They look like the flat piles. They look like the tiles of the pavement. That's why it's called pavement membrane. It's also called tessellated in case of endoderm. Some epithelium forming the blood vessels, layer of the blood vessels, is called endothelium. In case of endothelium, it's called wavy and it's called tessellated epithelium there. It's called tessellated epithelium there. So the functions of the sample, why it's located, location and function. We have to read the structure, location and function. It is located in the alveoli of the lungs. It forms the alveoli of the lungs, it forms the Bowman's capsule. In alveoli of the lungs, its functions. The functions is exchange of gases and in Bowman's capsule, filtration of the fluid that pass through the Bowman's capsule. Now the second is simple cuboidal. Here you will see that in simple cuboidal the cells are as tall as white. They are cubical in shape. That's why it's called cuboidal. And all the cells rest on the basement membrane. This nucleus is centrally located. It is centrally located, and cells are as tall as white. It's called cuboidal, simple cuboidal epithelium. Where it is located, it forms the lining of the sweat and salivary glands, and it forms the lining of the germinal epithelium in the tissues in both the glands of, that is germinal epithelium of the ovaries, and in case of male the testes, forms the germinal epithelium of the ovaries and the testes. Here the functions are, as you all know, in germinal epithelium it produces the gamete cells, that's male gametes and female gametes. And in sweat glands and salivary glands, it helps us in secretion of saliva and sweat. It may be present in other functions. These are some major important functions. Then there is third, simple ciliated columnar epithelium. A columnar epithelium, simple columnar epithelium has the cell structure that is taller than white. The cells are taller than white, and the nucleus rests on the base of the cell. All these cells rest on the basement membrane. You will see that this columnar epithelium without the cilia is called simple columnar epithelium. The simple columnar epithelium forms the lining from the stomach up to the small intestine. In the small intestine, it forms villi, it forms microvilli and villi. So the function, you might have seen that function may be absorption, function may be digestion, function may be absorption, secretion, etc. Then this simple columnar epithelium may be, this is non-ciliated and this is ciliated, simple columnar ciliated epithelium. The cells are taller than white, and nucleus is present at the base and all rest on the basement membrane. And it forms the nasal cavity, it forms the fallopian tubes, it forms the urinary tracts, where it helps in the movement of the function of the cilia is the movement of the dust particle, movement of the fluid. For example, in our nose, below the trachea, upper part nasal cavity, below the trachea, behind the trachea, it forms the it helps in vibration and removes the particles and dust particles away from the nose nasal cavity. In case of fallopian tubes, it helps in the movement of eggs, movement of egg and sperms. In case of our urinary tracts, it helps us in the movement of the fluid through the urinary tracts. That's all about the talk today.